I've spent a lot of my time looking into stories that, well, they just don't make sense. And today we're going to dig into some accounts that really show how fragile that line is between our world and something else. We're going to break down what happens when that darkness decides to come inside.
You know, you lock your doors at night, you set your car alarm. We all build these little fortresses around ourselves to feel safe. But what the cases we're about to look at show is that maybe real security is just an illusion. So what happens when the monster isn't trying to get in, but is already inside?
All right, let's dive right in. We're going to look at these first-hand stories where the uninvited guest doesn't just show up at your door. No, they completely dismantle your whole idea of safety, proving that sometimes the scariest threats are the ones that have been inside all along.
So where do we start? Well, let's begin with that first layer of our personal defense, our cars. For so many of us, it's like a second home, right? A little mobile sanctuary. But as we're about to see, it can turn into a trap in the blink of an eye.
Okay, so check out this case with the pizza delivery driver. It's this terrifying step-by-step escalation. First, you've got the creepy destination, an isolated building, totally isolated. Then, you get this unsettling visual, someone staring with these impossibly wide eyes. Then bam, his escape is cut off, all 4 tires are slashed. But it's that last step, that's where this goes from just a crime to pure nightmare fuel.
And that is the moment everything shatters. The car, his shield, is suddenly a cage. The threat isn't outside anymore. It is in there with him. That one single glance in the rearview mirror is the moment his entire sense of safety just completely evaporates.
So, we've seen how a car can become a trap. Now, let's take it a step further, right into the home itself, the heart of where we're supposed to feel safe. These next stories show how intruders can actually use our own minds, our own habits and routines against us to get inside. You know, when you look at these cases, a couple of patterns really start to pop out. The first is what I call exploiting familiarity. It uses your own habits as a weapon against you. The other preys on something much more primal, your need to survive. It uses desperation as a key to just walk right in.
This one is just chilling because it's all about a dangerous pattern. So you've got this son, his mom has a key and a habit of just letting herself in. So when he comes home to an unlocked door and hears footsteps, what does his brain do? It just assumes, oh, it's mom. He ignores all the red flags right up until the moment he sees that head peering around the corner and realizes it's not his mother at all.
And with this next one, wow, the real horror doesn't even hit the guy until way later. This hunter, he thinks he's found shelter from a storm with some quiet, maybe rude homeowner. But the truth was so much worse. He spent the night in a murder scene, an empty cabin with, what, the ghosts of the victim? That silence he experienced wasn't just some guy being quiet. It was the silence of the grave.
All right, if you thought physical intruders were bad enough, we're about to go deeper. Because the next level of intrusion is even more messed up. We're moving from something being physically in your house to something that's actively corrupting the things that should feel the safest. I mean, think about this. You're home alone. It's quiet. And then you hear your mother's voice calling your name. It's a sound we are biologically wired to trust. But in this story, it's bait.
And here it is. This is the detail that just sends a shiver right down your spine. It wasn't just that he heard the voice. It was the unnatural perfection of it. A real person's voice changes. It has little variations. This was a perfect, chilling loop. A recording. A mimic.
And there's actually a name for this feeling. It's called the auditory uncanny valley. Our brains are just incredible at picking up the tiny little imperfections in a real human voice. So when a sound mimics us too perfectly, with none of those little flaws, alarm bells start going off in our heads. That lack of change was a dead giveaway that whatever was calling his name, it wasn't human. And then, of course, he makes the phone call, and the floor just drops out from under him. She was never home. So the question isn't who was in his house anymore. It's what was in his house. So for our final case, we're looking at what might be the ultimate violation of sanctuary. This is when an entity doesn't just show up in your home, it seems to follow you, from the outside world right into your most private space, your bedroom. The timeline here is everything. It's what connects the dots. It starts out as this weird, almost funny story about a figure hiding in a bush making a weird sound. Hours go by. Then, at 3 in the morning, he wakes up, totally paralyzed, and he hears that same exact sound, but now it's inside his room. And it doesn't just appear.
No, it actively crosses the room and violates his personal space in the most terrifying way you can imagine. And get this, he's in sleep paralysis. He's awake, he sees everything that's happening, but he can't move a single muscle. He's just helpless while this thing gets right up in his face before it just vanishes.
So after going through all of these cases, what's the real lasting impact? What's left behind after the intruder's gone or the entity fades away?
The real takeaway here is that the fear doesn't just end when the encounter is over. The door gets locked, the house is empty, but that sanctuary has been shattered. And that feeling of being safe, once you lose it, it's almost impossible to ever fully get back.
And this right here, this is the real ghost that stays behind. It's that lingering paranoia. It's second-guessing every creak in the floor. It's that chilling thought that maybe whatever was in your house never actually left.
It really leaves you with a final, chilling question, doesn't it? These stories show us how fragile our defenses are. So if you can't trust your car, you can't trust your own home, and you can't even trust the sound of a loved one's voice, where is there left to hide?